The biology of the
Gannets.
Stone on the land, bones in the sea, and airplanes in the air are perhaps the most perfect descriptions of gannets in their various habitats. The gannet, with the scientific name of Morus basanus, is a large and bright white bird with slender, black-tipped wings, stretching over 2 meters in length. Gannets are a familiar encounter around the coastal areas of North Europe, especially the Scottish islands such as the Shetland, Orkney, and St. Kilda. They can also be found on the Farne Islands in England and on islands and cliffs in Wales and Ireland. However, the biggest gannet population in the world is found in the British Islands, with more than 220,000 gannet pairs. The northern gannet normally breeds on remote islands, sea stacks, and cliffs. Engaged in extensive feeding flights, gannets can travel up to 500 kilometers round trips from the breeding sites. When it comes to courtship or even food disputes, gannets tend to grasp one another's bills, necks, or chests, and start fencing with their large, strong wings. Sometimes they will take off together in a big fight, with mid-air chasing before the dispute is settled. The gannet diving sequence, in terms of how gannets hit the water at that speed, has been captured by professional high-speed cameras. According to specialists, a gannet may reach 100 kilometers per hour before entering the water. Once they dive into the water, gannets have to deal with a pressure equivalent to 5 times that at sea level because of the 10-meter depth. Yet, they are adapted to dive under such force and obstacle. Their streamlined body and wings have to offer less water resistance and firm support in the air. Also, the big, robust, and strong bones are perfect for absorbing the high pressure during impact and takeoff once again. Besides these, the strong chest muscles ensure maximum body toughness and power for flying and diving. The yellowish skull-like bare patches around the eyes and anatomy are called tubular vision and location organs. They are specially designed for reducing seawater glare and improving accuracy when gannets dive. Scientists found that the tubular organs contain numerous tiny blood vessels, acting as natural sunglasses to the gannets. It effectively absorbs excessive light and optimizes the image projected onto the retina at the back of the eyes, providing a much sharper diving vision. Wow, how fascinating the design of nature is. Physical characteristics and adaptations. Generally, gannets are medium to large seabirds, typically with white, yellowish, or buff plumages. They have an average body length, with large, elongated, stocky bodies and long, thin wings. The wingspan of an adult gannet is about 165 to 175 centimeters, making it one of the longest wingspans of any European bird. Because of this, gannets pursue powered flight by direct flapping and soaring, usually less often than other birds, like albatrosses, which glide and soar more, but are actually rare to see soaring and prefer to flap their wings while flying a lot, often flying high and getting a marvelous view of them. Apart from that, gannets exhibit an amazing flying behavior known as plunge-diving that enables them to feed on a wide variety of fish that range from small, medium to relatively large fish by diving from the air into the sea at high speeds. Due to this, they have developed several unique physical features and behavioral adaptations. Gannet skulls consist of greatly enlarged nasal structures with reduced olfactory regions, reinforced and robust lower jaw, and thinned-out upper jaw, which is believed to absorb the high-impact forces during entry into the water, so that it can adequately protect their brain by minimizing the transmitted forces. On the other hand, gannets are also proven to have a series of air sacs and balloon-like skin expansion all over the neck and chest region, effectively cushioning and protecting the vital organs against injury and harm. Besides, most of the divers or plunge-diving birds possess a more streamlined body structure to reduce the water resistance during diving. But gannets are an exception as they have a robust and bulky body build. This is because the extra weight and strength enable them to plunge deeper, up to 40 meters below the water surface. In addition, gannets have unique bones which are extremely solid with high density and strength, especially the bone at the chin region. This avoids the development of nitrogen bubbles within the blood, causing decompression sickness, or a condition known as the bends. Their bone structure, has a close resemblance to the bones found in the flipper of the oceanic diving mammal, the penguin, which reinforces the argument that the gannets are highly adapted for plunge diving. Breeding behavior and nesting habits. It has been found in some researches that gannets are quite faithful to their original breeding sites, and some birds may go back to the same site where they were born. This is particularly important nowadays when human activities are increasingly impacting on the wildlife. Gannets are monogamous, usually mate for life. Both male and female share the responsibility of incubating the single egg and feeding the chick. After fledging, some young may leave the colony and go feed at the rich marine area, such as the North Sea or the English Channel. But some could still hang around the colony, and this is often known as site tenacity. Because these birds do not breed in their first few years, those young gannets will stay and learn from the older ones. It is also an important opportunity for them to fight for a good nest in the future, as the nests in the central area of the colony seem to be more popular. The behavior of the gannets in a large breeding colony can be very complicated. Both males and females are social birds, and they will display many types of social behaviors at the colony, such as greeting ceremonies, bill fencing, etc. It is a very interesting scene when you walk into a gannet colony. You will be surprised by how close the birds are to each other. The noise, the smell, and the mess can make you feel the colony is an insane place. But to the gannets, they are the most fascinating and important location in the world, because life begins here. Gannets are ground nesting birds, and they are colonial nesters, forming large breeding colonies. They nest as close as possible to other pairs in the colony, and they often ignore each other's presence. Males are responsible for collecting most of the nesting material. They usually gather and present the material one piece at a time to their mates, often with small displays accompanying each piece. The pair will then jointly build the nest. Nests are frequently reused from year to year, but they require continuous maintenance. Feeding habits and hunting techniques. Gannets are fish-eating birds, and they hunt by plunge diving from the air to catch fish. Plunge diving involves the gannet folding its wings back and entering the water like a missile, which makes a great splash but also reduces resistance to entering the water. These birds can hit the water at speeds of up to 60 miles an hour and dive as deep as 22 feet. To avoid injury when entering the water at such high speeds, gannets have several adaptations. Firstly, they have air sacs in their face and chest, which act like bubble wrap to cushion the impact with the water. Additionally, gannets have very tough skulls and strong muscles that help protect their brains and necks. They also have a special membrane in each eye that acts like goggles to help them see more clearly underwater. Another adaptation for gannets is that they have a network of air spaces in their bones. This makes their body lighter so that diving is easier, and it also acts to absorb the shock of hitting the water. The biology of gannets makes fascinating reading, not least because they are able to perform such an insane feat of diving at high speeds and plunging into the depths of the ocean in search of food. These birds are certainly worth studying as they have a number of complex adaptations that help them survive such an extreme way of making a living. Plunge diving is an example of a behavioral adaptation, something the animal does to stay alive. And the physical features of the bird have also adapted over time by the process of evolution to produce the perfect creature for this technique. Conservation status and threats. Gannets are truly extraordinary birds, and it is essential to protect them if we are to preserve the diversity and beauty of our natural world. The conservation status of gannets is actually quite positive, since their numbers have been increasing in recent years. In 2009, it was estimated that there were around 220,000 breeding pairs of gannets in the world, with the majority of them found around the coasts of the British Isles. To protect this increasing population, gannets and their nesting sites are legally protected in the UK and some other European countries. This means that any planned developments which might disrupt gannets, such as offshore wind farms or coastal housing, have to go through a strict approval process to ensure that they will not have a negative impact on the birds. Thanks to these legal protections, alongside the hard work of conservation groups and ecologists, Gannet colonies in the UK have been doing quite well. However, there are still some significant threats to the continued success of gannets, especially as many of their important breeding sites are located near areas of high human activity. For example, coastal development and industrial fishing practices can both have a negative impact on the well-being of gannets and their chances of successful breeding. This is because gannets rely on having close and consistent access to fish in order to provide enough food for themselves and their chicks. However, overfishing in the waters around gannet colonies can reduce both the quantity and quality of food available, making it more difficult for these birds to survive and reproduce. In addition, human activities and disturbances near gannet nesting sites can cause stress and disruption to the breeding birds. For example, birds can become scared off their nests by loud noises or sudden movements, exposing eggs and chicks to danger from predators, such as other birds of prey. These sorts of impacts can have serious consequences for the reproductive success of gannets at a particular colony, and over time can lead to drastic reductions in the local population. It is therefore vital that both the legal protections for gannets and active conservation efforts continue to ensure that these incredible birds remain a success story for the natural world.